probably the beginning of a path for a lot of them. And we're thinking about how we can continue to support them and keep those connections for the kids, because otherwise Darren said it was still a pretty powerful experience. But I don't feel, I don't think anybody connected to this camp, even anybody in the board, would feel like it's the right thing to just have the camp once every summer. That we need to have experiences, when Anika and I went into Churchill to bring some stuff back to the kids, and brought them all together for a couple of minutes. Like, it's unbelievable how those kids came together, and you could feel the energy and the confidence building back up in them.
I think about that, and it will take time. It takes time. When I talked about community, culture, language, and land, it's like the kids. When I came into that path, I had a connection to the land. I grew up hunting and trapping, and I grew up in loving the bush. That was my connection to that cycle, is that land. And from that land, I gained knowledge about the culture, because the culture comes from the land. And I started learning the culture, and because I had those experiences on the land, I connected with Anishinaabe culture. And then when I started to connect the culture and the land, I started to learn about community people and people in the bush, and people, I went out with them, and I felt comfortable going out with Bobby or those guys, and I learned so much out there, and I knew something about hunting and trapping already, so I had a connection. And a lot of these kids, that piece of that circle that they have is they're starting to build a sense of community. They don't have all the teachings of the land yet. They don't have all the components of the culture, and none of us do. We continue that cycle regularly. For me, one of the pieces that I'm working on right now is the language. I'm trying to learn the language, so when I go to my in-laws, I try to speak the language with them, and when I go out in the bush, or when I'm trying to learn that language, because that's the piece I'm working on right now. And those kids have that whole circle to fill in, so that's a long journey to go. They're just starting on that journey. And you'll see them, I think they're gathering around the community, and in their community, and they see that, and then they'll continue on that journey.
He taught me something today, Marcia. I always wondered where smoke signals went. They went to Facebook. They're now called Facebook. That's what I mean, evolution. Why start a fire and you can click a button? Yeah, but you started something that's very beneficial to the Native kids. Like I said, it doesn't matter where the teaching comes from. You guys planted a seed, and you know what a seed does, right? You gotta nurture that seed. Whatever direction, or however tall you want to make it, and how many stems you want to put out there, what kind of seed, depending what kind of seed you want, how you want it to become. Same way with this program, It's not gonna be the finished product.
Not right
when
away.
you're just starting.
Yeah.
You're like we just said, you're gonna go through pain. You're gonna fall here. You're gonna, you gotta get up and rewrote yourself. Don't stress yourself out just because.
No.
Because there's always a reason why a rock is put in front of you.
Yeah.
You gotta walk around it to find something else what's behind it. You don't try and go through it or drill through it. Give yourself that head.
Yeah. Well, I think about all the things, like, for me, Darren said something to me during that week. We were talking about, we had a lot of kids together in one place who had they needed a lot of support.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good we had almost as many adults as kids that first year, because we're learning. You know, we're learning what this is going to be for us in our community. It was great that George and Mary and the OPP provided us that roadmap, but we need to make it what our community says we need for our kids.
Exactly.
But it's emotionally draining, you know, to be there for that many kids with that many needs all at once. And I mean, those kids are leaders, like they're great kids, but it's you know, the idea though that that what it's going to be and the bumps that we have along the way are going to help us form what it needs to be. And how we all come together. Like there were, sure, of course there were bumps, but us not getting caught up, like you said, if we get wrapped up in the negativity, then that's more about us than it is about the whole experience.
And the whole experience is the real thing.
Yeah,
If you try to put a cap on that real experience,
yeah, then it's artificial.
it's artificial. It's not doing the job it's supposed to do.
Well, and Darren said, when I said, you know, how do we do this every day when, you know, in those really challenging situations where there are a lot of kids with a lot of needs, and you shared with me something that somebody had said to you, you know, be there. Wherever it is that you are at that time, be there then. So that week I was there.
Yeah.
You know, and my husband and kids were, you know, he took them out in the bush. And they camped on an island for the weekend, and, you know, it was a bummer missing out on that. But then after, I went out to camp and sat with the kids, but I couldn't not have a notepad and a pen beside me, because my head was racing as soon as we left. All of a sudden, all of these ideas, okay, here are the things that we learned. What were some of the hiccups? How might we solve them? What might be some other ways that we could do that? And I could write it down, and then I could attend again, you know, to where I was and what I was doing. But I think everything we learned, like I can speak for myself personally, I think, and as an organization, in 1 week. I mean, and all the weeks leading up to making it happen. But for you, Marcel, what do you think was the most, I don't know if there's not necessarily one thing, but thinking about your own experience or watching the kids, that was most impactful maybe, or most important for us to not lose?
I'm going to give you a second